Hi guys, and welcome back to Fat Pack Magic. Our players are already rearing and ready to go, with Chris dropping a windswept heath. And he's gonna fetch out something, but Danny's like, alright, I'm gonna draw, and I'm gonna take my turn. And he's gonna start off with Soldier of the Pantheon, which is pretty strong given that this is a multicolored cube. Chris is gonna fetch out a pretty Temple Garden, which is nice. I love my pretty Temple Garden. He draws a Swamp. But that Soldier of the Pantheon doesn't have protection against Bitter Blossom tokens. But Danny seems unperturbed about this. He's going to swing in anyways. Why not? Drops Chris down to 17, and he's going to follow up with a Smuggler's Copter, which isn't going to trade against a Faerie token. Chris draws, and the neat thing about Chris's deck is that it's all about small incremental advantages. So how is he going to pump out those small little advantages? And I think it's going to start with Liliana. And he's going to sacrifice, because your Smuggler's Copter can't swing if it doesn't have a pilot. But little does he know that Danny's got the turn 3 follow-up with Brimaz. And Brimaz can hop in the cockpit, but Chris is going to try and block. Danny says, nope, I get to loot first, which is one of the amazing things about Smuggler's Copter. You get to loot without having to deal damage. So it chews through that little Faerie token that blocks for Liliana, allowing Chris more Liliana activations. But Danny is able to sculpt his hand, and Chris decides to forget to make the Bitter Blossom token on time. And he's made it though, thank you very much, Chris. And he's gonna play the Oath of Nissa, which is like a green ponder. And he gets Fleshbag Marauder. And I think he's still on that plan of not dealing with the Smuggler's Copter directly, but rather the creatures with it. So he pumps up Liliana, and Danny discards, but Chris is supposed to discard at the same time. And I think this kind of is telling, because he discards Putrefy, which says that he's not worried about the Copter itself. So he's gonna swing in, and that poor little Copter just desperately trying to kill Liliana, and instead just running over a suite of Faerie tokens. The Faerie token chump blocks, Liliana is still alive, and Chris makes the Faerie token on time. Paying 1 life for multiple chump blockers is pretty good. So Chris is going to finally deal with that Smuggler's Copter with Knight of Autumn, which is really one of my favorite cards. Being able to have so many different modes. And this time Chris discards first with the Liliana, and Danny is trying to decide what is going to be the best value for his discard. And it looks like he's going to give up the True Name Nemesis because he doesn't have the blue to cast it anyways. And he's drawn a land. So he swings in with the Adanta Vanguard. Chris chumps. Danny pays 4 life. And then he's going to gain 2 and draw 2 cards with that pretty little Cloud Blazer. And they're both just eking away, trying to get a little bit ahead. But Chris draws one of his most beloved cards in his deck, Sorin. So he's gonna Maelstrom Pulse the Cloud Blazer and deal 2 damage to Danny, and have Danny sacrifice the Adanta Vanguard to Liliana's ability, and then starts his turn again, losing 1 life and making another Faerie token. So he plays his land, and is Sorin gonna come down yet? I mean, I think he's gonna let Danny take some damage first. Danny drops to 14, and he plays Sorin. And for those of you who have watched the first match, Sorin was the MVP. And it looks like that emblem is going to be able to do some incredible damage with that little suite of Faerie tokens. Like, those Faerie tokens are 1/1s, but they can quickly become 2/1s and then 3/1s with each activation of Sorin. But Danny is weighing his options, because right now he doesn't have a lot. I mean, he's drawing Scarab God, but his question is, can he afford to play it, or does he need to start blocking these tokens with the Celestial Colonnade? places a Field of Ruin, and he decides, he's probably going to lose it. He'll probably lose the Scarab God till Liliana activation, so he's got to play it out. And Chris takes a look at what was one of the most terrifying cards of Standard a year and a half ago. Scarab God, a 5/5 that when it dies, goes back into your hand at the beginning of the next end step. And it looks like Chris has a line of play here to win. Danny has no cards in hand. And Chris is weighing his options. I mean, he's got a suite of flyers. Not all of them can attack. He can still do some damage. But that Scarab God can quickly run away with the game. So he decides he's going to pump up Liliana. Everybody discards, but yeah, nobody has cards in hand. And he's going to tick down Sorin. That emblem effect is going to start pumping the team, and he swings in for 4. Here's that tiny little incremental advantage we were talking about. Those little Bitter Blossom tokens just working in perfect synergy with that Sorin emblem. But Danny has one of the most powerful plays that he can do right now, and that is make more dudes. And make big dudes for 4 mana. So Cloud Blazer, normally a 2/2 that draws you 2 cards and gains you 2 life, is now going to draw him 2 cards, gain 2 life, and it's a 4/4. And then, in response to the trigger, he gets the Scry, and it doesn't look like what he's wanting. So he puts it on bottom and draws a card. And I think trading the History of Benalia for a basic land is not what he wants to do, but it's fine. So now Chris has to be wary of Scarab God activations. He has to win this turn if he's going to swing in. Otherwise, he could just die to the crackback. And every turn that he lets the Scarab God live, Danny's just going to be able to pump out more and more creatures. And those creatures can be pretty strong. Especially when they have 4 power and 4 toughness. Like, that Brimhouse token is going to be able to swing in for 4, generate Lion tokens that are going to be able to chump block. And then block. But Chris has drawn Ink Eyes. And another Standard All-Star. So he decides he's going to make Danny sacrifice a creature with Liliana. And so Danny has to tap out and use that activation. Sacrifice the Scarab God. Scarab God's going to come back at the end of turn, but shields are down. And now Chris has the ability to run away with this game. And he's looking at he's looking at the Scarab God. Alright, is there anything else I need to know? And he's kind of peeking through his graveyard. And it's kind of funny because Chris is looking at Danny's graveyard, wondering what he can recur with the Scarab God. And Danny's thinking, oh, okay, he's just wondering about my Scarab God. But Ink Eyes has the ability to pull stuff from the graveyard when she connects. But I don't think it's even going to matter because Chris makes the emblem, Alpha Strikes. Here we go. Let's do some damage. 1 token blocked, the Knight of Autumn blocked. 3, 6, 9, but here we go. Here we go. Here comes the ninjutsu. And he's going to return that vampire token, and he's going to deal lethal. 3, 6, 13 damage. There we go. Boom. But, oh man, that ninjutsu is so strong, and not a lot of people give respect to Ink Eyes. However, I think there was a line of play that Chris could have taken and won without giving Danny as many outs. So let's take a look at that right now. So this is how I think the turn should have gone. Chris should have used the Liliana activation to make him sack the Scarab God. Scarab God goes back into hand at end of turn, and then Chris can make the Sorin emblem and then swing in with his 2 ground dudes and then turn those Faerie sideways and swing right out. It would leave Danny down to 5 life, and if he played the Scarab God next turn, he wouldn't have enough mana to recur another creature, and even if he did, he wouldn't be able to get through that 3rd Faerie token up at the top. So that's how Chris could have won without giving Danny any options to come back.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. Please check out the next video. We've got more gameplay to come. But real quick, at 100 subscribers, I'm going to be giving away a signature spellbook Jace edition. It's just a small way to say thank you for all the support that you've been giving me, and I really do appreciate it. So until next time, may all your packs be fat.